For me, when I was young, I really started to question what was the religion of nature, because I would really like to experience that, to connect with that more rather than the religion I was being sold at a young age. So if this is your first time here at my channel, welcome. My name is Jacob Toddson, and I typically make videos on ancient religions and cultures, about the ancient past and how those beliefs still survive today. I've been making videos for almost 6 years now. So the purpose of this video is to ramble, to show you beautiful nature footage, and to kind of reflect on the different aspects of what a religion based around nature is like. I'm obviously not the creator of this. This is something humans have been doing since we've climbed out of the muck, is worshiping nature. And so we're going to kind of talk about worshiping nature and what that looks like, what the experience is like. And I'm mostly making this for people who don't have the answers, who were like me, who were young, who were exploring belief and found that the church and its walls were not sufficient enough, but found nature to be their church. And so if you've ever thought nature was your church, your temple, or the place that you found peace, I hope you keep watching and let me know your thoughts down below on your connection with nature and what it means to you. Now, before we get too much into this conversation, I think it's important to note that the literal benefit of nature, and this is for everyone, is there's so much science to back up how nature walks, being in nature, help us as a species, help us find peace, help us to relax, to de-stress. And I know that for so many people, nature is our escape. And so outside of all the things we're going to be talking about, we're going to get into some wild conversation here. But at the end of the day, nature at its simplicity brings us peace. And I think that's, for me, one of the main reasons, one of the first reasons that I started connecting to what the religion of nature could be, is because when I was here, when I was in the woods, when I was on the trails, I found peace. And our world is only getting stranger and stranger, more and more complicated. And for me, with all the cryptos and all the digital stuff, I need nature even more. And I think that's one of the main reasons so many people are returning to nature, is because when our world is getting more and more confusing, this helps ground us. So one of my arguments for this video is that the religion of nature is much more tied to our human evolution, especially in the ancient past. And as I said at the beginning, it's kind of come full circle in my opinion. But the religion of nature was kind of built out of necessity. People in the very far past had not fully domesticated nature. We haven't controlled agriculture and farming, and so they were much more subservient to the natural cycles, subservient to the weather changes and to crops growing and dying, or dehydration, or famine or disease, and even animals. I mean, the amount of animals, especially predatory animals, in the ancient past were far more significant. And so there was a much more equal relationship between human and animal, human and nature. And so in particular when they prayed to the sky gods to give them rain and things like that, it does kind of come from an archaic understanding of how the world works. Obviously we didn't know where we were in the universe. We didn't know we were a planet floating around the sun and all this. And so as we discovered more about science, naturally our needs for the weather gods have gone away. But I would argue that our need for nature has only become more significant. And so we kind of left it as we domesticated it. We overtook it. We became more powerful than nature. But what we've seen now in our modern world is that as we stand above nature and dominate over it, we destroy it. And so I think all of us see that the world needs to return to more of a balance. And so I think the religion of nature is the religion that we need. We need to see that we're not the commanders of nature. We are not above it. We live among it. And if we don't realize that soon, it is going to take revenge on us, so to speak. So nature will win in the end, and we can either work with it and go with the natural flows, the natural cycles, our natural amount of resources, or we can abuse it and suffer the results. Nature, at the end of the day, is more powerful than us, and we should feel so lucky to be able to see ourselves as equal to nature. And I think our ancient people understood that because they didn't have the means to overcome it. And I think now, as we have the means to be more superior than nature, I think we need to take that step back and realize our place within it. The U.S. is predominantly a Protestant country. It's one of the things that formed this nation is the various Protestant religions leaving Europe and coming here. Now, that's not saying that other religions don't have any kind of foothold. Catholicism, of course, is here as well, and then Islam, and then Buddhism, and Hinduism, and then everything in between. However, Protestantism is what at least formed the identity of where I grew up. And so I was raised a Baptist, and this kind of upbringing really keeps you in a bubble. And this bubble, I think, can be dangerous, especially when it comes to nature. And this bubble is a straight line. So this idea that we were created by God, and God is above us, and then there's the Son, you know, the Holy Spirit and all those things, but we are below those things. And then below us is everything else. And so everything, all of this was created for us. And the thing that always threw me off is that even though God supposedly created all this for us, churches are not in nature. Churches are often very cold and not natural and very synthetic, at least in our modern age. I think Christianity probably needs to return to nature a bit more and further away from their mega churches and things like that. I think it takes away from, I think, a lot of the good messages that actually do exist in Christianity. But as it exists now, it's not really what I connected with. And the model that makes more sense for me, and this is again something I had to research and find on my own, I started first personally with polytheism and paganism, and this understanding that there are multiple gods and multiple things that relate to us. And by no means am I a scholar when I describe these things, but essentially there's us, and then there's the various deities, deities of water, air, earth, sky, you know, strength, masculinity, femininity, all that. And then there's us as well, and that's a little bit more of an older model, I suppose. That's, you know, a model that existed before Christianity. And then there's the animistic model, and the animistic model is one that's in current conversation a little bit more, and that's the idea that there is nothing above one another, that everything lives within equality. And so there is no hierarchy. We all exist in some form of oneness, that there's a spirit contained within everything, and that we all are made up of spirit and godliness and all this. And so, yeah, for me, the more I research history, the more I research indigenous practices, the more I research paganism, the more I see commonalities in my own personal connection with nature and, yeah, my relationship to the trees and to the water. And then, of course, there is a conversation to be had about shamanism as well. Something I also want to talk about with the conversation on, like, shamanism, and shamanism being heavily tied to, like, indigenous American practices, like Native American practices, is the sacredness of elements. Like water, I mean, water is so very important. We're mostly a water species on a water planet, and we take water for granted. You know, we turn on the tap, we fill our water bottle, we take a shower, and in this modern age, we really take water for granted. And water, for hundreds and thousands of years of our human existence, was one of the most precious resources, and it still is, but we've lost sight of that. Same thing goes with, like, you know, the cool air and heat. I mean, so many of us live in, you know, central heating and air and all this, and so we've kind of lost a lot of what nature does for us, the importance of things in nature, because, again, we've tried to dominate over it. But man, the water is so very important, and so remembering the sacredness of that, I think, is so very important, and it's something that I recognize within the monotheistic model, or the atheistic model. I don't want to just keep bashing monotheistic, but moving away from nature, we've moved away from the sacredness of the elements of nature, water, air, fire, of animals, how much animals provide for us, both in, you know, warmth as far as their, you know, furs and pelts, especially to the ancient past, or wool, to the meat they produce, to the dairy, to the milk. Animals are, you know, without them, without our animals, we wouldn't be the species we are today. And then let alone plants. I mean, all of our food comes from nature, whether it's plant-based or animal-based. Nature feeds us. Nature gives us water. And we have definitely moved away from the sacred understanding of those things. And so not only is nature our mother, nature is our provider, it's our father. It's the thing that gives us life. And yet we are so disconnected because we go to our apartment, we get in our car that burns dinosaur blood for fuel. We go to the supermarket, we pick up the food, we go home, we cook it, all with this disconnection from nature and what it does for us. And I think that is very, very dangerous. And it's something that I'm trying to connect more to, is my food, where it comes from, where my water comes from, and honoring those things in a sacred way. And so I think those things are also all wrapped up into the religion of nature, because we have to return back to the sacredness of what keeps us alive. And again, if we disrespect that, I'm very scared of the results of what will happen once we continue to disrespect the sacredness of what keeps us alive, gives us breath, and keeps us going in this beautiful world that we live on. Hey, we're about halfway through this video, which means I need to say if you're liking it and you've made it this far, make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And thank you so much. And let me know your thoughts down below of everything I've said. But if you really appreciate the work I've done here in this video and you want to check out more, I have over 400 videos exploring a lot of different subjects now, all with the kind of root in this animistic, spiritual, pagan belief system in the world. And so make sure you check those out. And if you want to support me directly, I do have a Patreon where you can donate monthly or even just once. And what you get in that in return is a monthly challenge kind of thing I'm doing, where I challenge you to meditate for 30 days, fast, do yoga, go outside, try something new. Basically every month, I'm giving everyone 3 challenges to focus in on to better themselves. And it's all stuff that's helped me in my own journey. And so I'm definitely not a guru or a master in anything, but it's just stuff that's helped me. And so if that sounds interesting to you, we have a little chat room and everything too. And you can get that as a benefit for supporting a small content creator like me. But with that, let's go back to this video discussing going outside and the importance of nature and the belief in our natural world. Something we also lost sometime in our human history is our definition of teachers and what is a teacher. Because obviously, me growing up in the 90s, a teacher was someone that was at school, and that was it. And so you went to school and you were taught something there, perhaps some family, that was it. But the definition of teacher is definitely very different. And when we look into the shamanic past, the indigenous past, who were the teachers to the ancient ones, the people that lived with nature as the religion? And teachers were so much more than just humans. Humans were not the only teachers. Animals were teachers. Plants were teachers. The wind was a teacher. They all have something to teach us. And I think we're definitely seeing the byproduct of a society not raised by nature anymore, by a society raised only by humans. And so the last few years in my explorations of shamanism, of paganism, of the world, and exploring teachers of various different types. Not all of my teachers have been human, and not all of my teachers who are human have only been taught by other humans. Plants, not just plant medicine, not just psychedelics, but plants in general has something to teach us if we listen. What does the tree teach us? To grow slowly. Transformation, I mean, trees start off as something so small, and then over the course of decades, they turn into something truly beautiful and truly different. And so I think there's a great lesson in plants as far as just observing them. And then, I mean, shoot, we as humans suffer because we are unable to be still. And so just observing nature, even though it's ever moving. Like I was told once, nature is a battlefield, but we would never notice because we do not pay attention long enough. And same thing with animals. Animals have so much to teach us. What does the turtle teach us? What does the jaguar teach us? The duck, the horse. And yeah, so animals as a teachers is a wonderful thing. And it might sound childish, like, oh, this is stuff that's in children's books. But truly, like, there are some very important lessons that nature has to teach us. And then, of course, there is, like, psychedelic experiences have something to teach us. Like, plants do things for us. I love coffee. We started this video with a cup of coffee as well. And coffee is a plant. Coffee gives us energy. I love coffee. Like, I have a romantic relationship with coffee. And so it definitely has something to teach us. Growing plants, actually digging our hands into the soil and growing things. Again, we talked about domesticating plants, but there is a benefit to growing them. Maybe going with the flows and using less chemicals would be lovely. But plants can also teach us something there, or raising animals. Plants, animals, all these things are wonderful teachers. And so not only am I, saying that Christianity has created problems, monotheism, but I think our over-obsession with our own selves, with our own humanity, and humans being our only teachers now for a while, at least in mainstream society, I think is leading to issues as well. And we need to return to understanding that plants, animals, nature, all these things can be teachers to us as well. Let me tell you, fire, amazing teacher. grandmother fire, mother fire, amazing teacher. Wow, I never knew how much I could learn from just watching a fire until I started exploring and sitting in different circles. But yeah, nature, the elements, all these things are amazing teachers for us. And we need to move forward as a society where we recognize that once again. And I think that's a part of the religion of nature. And now it's time to talk about the fairies. Now, the fairies might not be a conversation that some of you are ready for if you've not been to my channel before. But if you've been here before, you know that I absolutely love the fae, the fairies, the little folk, the hulda folk, and there are many other names that they're known as. This is a little dive into folklore because what I have discovered in my research of different cultures and beliefs around the world is that there are many different names and definitions of essentially the same thing. The belief and the little people that live in the trees, that live in nature, that live in our homes, that are tied to an other world where they go and there's like mischief involved. We can go to the other world and they interact with us, and they're very sensitive creatures. And of course there are fantastical designs of these things with the wings and all that. And sure, there is a fantasy element. You're like, oh, I can't believe in these fairies. But then why does nearly every culture in the world have some story similar? But then why does every culture in the world have some story tied to fairies? And I think it's because that nature is, at its heart, mischievous. And so we've all been out in nature and we've heard that strange noise or felt that presence or seen that place that was super special, like an interesting tree, and we're like, ooh, that's cute, or ooh, that has a presence to it. And I think people for thousands of years have been feeling these same things and telling stories of the fairies, the fae, and all of this. And we've all had the sock go missing in our house or the keys we can never find. And so they're kind of our explanation for the unexplainable. And nature has that as well. And so whether or not you believe in mystical little beings that live in trees, there's something inherently mischievous about nature, but also very fantasy about it. We've all felt like we're walking through Lord of the Rings, or at least I do, as we go down a path and we're like, they're taking the hobbits to Isengard, or something like that. Like, I think we all want to believe in fantasy to some degree. And so while I don't personally believe in little creatures that live inside of trees, I believe that there is an inherent spirituality of nature. And it manifests itself to us in these stories and folklore around fairies. And again, it's up to you what you believe in, but I think it is acknowledging that nature is a bit mischievous. We've talked about a lot of different elements here. We've talked about shamanism, we've talked about fairies and folklore, we've talked about, spirits of the woods and things like that. And I kind of want to bring it all together here in my last point. And that's talking about the identity of gods and what that is, especially when it comes to nature. Again, I think when it comes to monotheism, it makes sense. The moment we started domesticating nature, the moment we started moving towards civilization, our natural evolution told us to start moving towards a more monotheistic model, especially at the time of the kings and the empires, because civilization needed us to look towards a central figure in order to move forward. But as we left behind the past when it came to our more archaic understandings of nature, I think it's now time for us to move forward from our archaic understandings of what God or the gods are. What I think has happened is through this time of kings and empires, we have built up our own godliness. And we realize that we are not gods. We realize that we are not the answer to everything, that we are just a part of the whole. We're not the center of the universe. And I think that is a big ego moment for us as a species. And I think that's what we're going through right now, is realizing that we're not the most important thing in the universe. We are simply a part of it. And we can either take that and abuse our power, what power we do have, or we can become part of that whole. We can enter some kind of equanimous relationship with what we've been given, with our Mother Earth, with Father Sky, and all these things. And so I don't necessarily believe in a big cloud with heaven in it, with a dude with a gray beard. I don't believe in literal interpretations of what gods are. But I believe that our planet is a god, a goddess. Is our planet not alive? It has a core, it has blood and magma, it's massive, it puts off energy. We live among it like cells do in our own body. Our planet is alive. Nature is alive. We are alive. And we all have similar star stuff that makes us up. And we've found all of this through science, and that's amazing. But I think it's time for us to come back and complete the circle and realize that the religion of nature is where we came from, and the religion of nature is where we belong. And I think we have to accept that, in my opinion. You can disagree with me, But to kind of end this conversation, like, what do I think a God is? I do think that we both need to move away from the archaic interpretation of gods and godliness and return to more of a natural understanding of it, is that the sun is a gigantic ball of fire. The earth is a very big rock with water and life and all this on it. There's nebulas, there's star stuff everywhere, and we're all made up of it. And we all come from this great big universe and this great energy. So I think that, like the natives in America, they believe in the Great Spirit and Teowa. And I believe in those things too, and this inherent beauty of everything, and this energy that we all get from whatever the creator is, the universe. And by connecting to the gods of the earth, the gods of the sky, we can connect more to who we are meant to be in this great and beautiful universe that we live in. Through our own explorations of science, we have proven the religion of nature. And I think so many of us are waking up to that. And I think that what holds us back is our past, is our old understandings of the way everything works. It's time for us to move forward. And I think the religion of nature can apply to so many different beliefs. Whether you're Christian, Islam, pagan, Wiccan, Buddhist, doesn't matter. We all need to change. We all need to evolve and combine ourselves with the religion of nature so that we can have a more whole and beautiful future here on our beautiful planet that we call Earth, the planet that was our mother. And it's time to return to the mother. It's time to return to Earth. Here we are. We've come full circle. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you so very much. If you haven't enjoyed it, well, I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comments below. I don't mean any disrespect with a video like this. I'm sure I'll have people that are like, oh, you need to give the church another chance and all this. But to me, the final thing I'll leave here is something that I hear a lot on my content, and that is you need to worship the creator, not the creation. And I would push back on that and say we've worshipped the creator too long, so long in fact that we've started worshiping ourselves. And we need to return to honoring the creation. Even if there is a creator to it, the creation needs us. It was given to us as this great gift, if that's what your belief system is, and we have abused it for so long. And the creation is so very important. And that's what I'm asking us to go back to, is acknowledging the creation and honoring it and worshiping it. If you want to worship a creator on top of that, as I've discussed in this video, it's amazing. I worship some type of creator as well. It might not be how you define it, but at the end of the day, isn't nature wonderful? And ultimately, this video was for nature lovers and hopefully nature worshipers as well. So thank you all so very much. I'll see you in the next video here at the Wisdom of Odin. And yeah, make sure you enjoy my previous videos that I've made and all my videos moving forward. So skull to you, and I'll see you in the next one.